السلام عليكم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد سيد الأولين والآخرين. مدد يا رسول مدد يا سادات أصحاب المدد يا شيخ الدستور مولانا إن شاء الله فاز أصحاب محمد كان مدد طريقتنا والصحبة والخير في الجميع. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وما بال نفسي إن نفس الأمارة بالسوء إلا ما رحم ربي إن ربي غفور رحيم. صدق الله العظيم. Nefsimizi iyi sağlam saymayız diyor ayet-i kerime.
In this holy verse, Allah Almighty reminds us that we should not consider our ego to be sound or to be in a healthy state.
Nefis devamlı kötülüğü emreder.
The ego cannot be trusted and it always commands evil.
Kötülüğü ister.
The ego desires evil things, bad things.
Onu tutmak lazım.
It is important, therefore, to not give in to your ego and to refrain oneself.
Onu istediğini yapmamak lazım.
It is necessary to not do what your ego desires.
Şimdi çoğu insan işte nefsimle mücadele ediyor. Onu bilsen gene iyidir. Bazıları doğrudan nefis ne istiyorsa onu veriyor.
People say, I'm struggling with my ego, I'm having a hard time with my ego. But if you have come to that realization and if you are aware of that struggle with your ego, that is already something good. Because there are so many people who directly give their egos whatever their egos desire.
Onu mücadele yapmaz lazım. Onu küçükten beri aileler çocuklarını nefislerine hakim olsun diye onların
It is necessary to struggle against one's ego, and one needs to be taught from a young age to fight one's ego, to struggle against one's ego, and therefore families should discipline their children step by step so that they learn how to manage and how to control their egos.
Daha ufak öyle terbiye edip her şeyi istedikleri gibi her şeyini vermek iyi değil aslında.
It is actually not a good thing to give your child everything your child desires.
Vereceksin, onun ne olduğunu bilmesi lazım, kıymetini bilmesi lazım.
You may give to your child, but you must make sure that your child is aware of what you give and what it gets, and he needs to learn about the values of those things you give to him.
Ondan sonra her şey hemen olmaz diye bilmesi lazım.
And it is important for a child to learn that not everything happens at once immediately.
Sabır ister.
Child needs to learn that things require patience.
Şimdiki insanlar bir acayip olmuş.
People nowadays have become strange.
Eski insanlar, çocuklar aile babalarına, analarına hizmet ederdi. Şimdi
In the old days, children used to serve their fathers and mothers.
İnsanlar çocukları bırakın, şimdiki insan çocuğuna hizmet değil de hayvanlara bile köpeği oluyor, onun hizmetinde oluyor.
Now things have become the complete opposite. Parents serve their children, and let alone their children, people have become servants even to their animals, to a dog, serving it all day long.
Bütün gün ne yiyecek, ne içecek, nereye götüreceğim.
And you see people only being concerned about their dogs. What will it eat? What will the dog drink? Where will I take it today?
Ne yapacak diye, ne istiyor bu hayvan diye.
And all day long people are concerned about the needs of that animal. How can I serve that animal? Where can I take that animal?
Diyor, ona hizmet ediyor.
And they're running after serving that animal.
Onun peşinden koşturuyor. Günde yemeğini, içeceğini, bilmem vitaminini diye nedir diye bakıyor.
All they are concerned about is about the well-being of their animal, their pets, and the entire day they'll look after their pets, their animals' food, its drink, its vitamins, and they serve it.
Onun hizmetinde oluyor. Halbuki hizmet Allah için hizmet olacak.
People are in the service of their pets. However, we should be in the service of Allah Almighty, and we should live in order to serve for the sake of Allah Almighty.
Allah'a hizmet edeceksin.
You should be serving Allah Almighty.
Bu nefsini, çocukları da ona göre terbiye edeceksin.
And this is what you must train your ego for, and this is also what you must train your children for. You need to teach and train them that they become servants of Allah Almighty.
Sana anaya babaya hizmet etmek büyük bir sevaptır.
You yourself and your children should know and be trained to serve their parents, to serve your mother, your father, which is a great reward.
Lazım olandır.
And it is necessary that children serve their parents.
Allah Azze Kur'an'da Azimüşşan'da onda buyuruyor.
And this is what Allah Almighty commands and says in the glorious Quran.
Söylüyor. Onu yaparsa güzel nesiller çıkar.
If children serve their parents, good generations will emerge.
Yapmasa işte gördüğümüz gibi acayip insanlar.
And if not, then as we see these days, strange people emerge.
İnsanlar sırf nefisler ne istiyorsa küçüğünden büyüğüne her istediğini yapıyor.
Now we face people and live in a time where people only do what their ego desires, and they try to fulfill at every instance their ego's requests, from the youngest to the oldest.
Bir de işte şimdi kanunlar çıkarıyor ki 18 aşağı olunca ceza az oluyor.
And they are also making laws that if someone is under 18, then the punishment is less.
Halbuki akıl bali oldu mu ceza vakit hak oluyor.
However, one should be punished the moment a person reaches the age of maturity.
Ceza ne zaman hak oluyor?
And when is that age of maturity? When is the time when one should also be punished?
Namaz farz olduğu vakit.
It is the time when prayer becomes obligatory. It is the time when praying 5 times a day becomes obligatory.
Farzda akıl bali olduğu vakti.
And when is the time when praying 5 times a day becomes obligatory? It is the time when a person reaches the age of maturity.
İnsan, kadın ya da erkek, onların halleri o akıl bali olduğu hallerde de, yani insan artık evlenirse çocuğu olur gibisinden o vakit ceza, günah filan hepsi yazılır ona.
Whether female or male, in the state of maturity, meaning a person has reached the state that that person could now, when married, have children, then that person has reached the age of maturity. And at that time, punishment is due, and all sins are written for that person.
Allah Azze ve Celle yazdığı günahı sen dünyada istediği gibi yapsın diye şey yapamazsın.
You cannot allow someone to do as they wish in this world, while Allah Almighty has forbidden this thing to be done and writes it as a sin.
Ondan sonra başına böyle gelir.
And if you let people do what Allah Almighty has forbidden, and if you let people do what Allah Almighty records as a sin, then there you go, trouble is upon people.
Her tarafta kötülük, vahşet, zulüm çoğalır.
Everywhere, evil, badness, savagery, oppression is increasing.
Çünkü o yaşa kadar akıl bali olduğu yaşta onu zapt etmezsen daha sonra zapt etmesi zordur.
Because if you don't learn how to manage and how to control your ego until the age of maturity, and having reached that age of maturity, it will become difficult for that person to control their ego later.
Onun için namaz çocuklara 7 yaşında söylersiniz.
Therefore, you should start telling your people about the importance to pray and encourage that child to pray starting at the age of 7.
10 yaşında daha fazla söylersin.
And at the age of 10, you tell your child to pray more and more.
Akıl bali olduğu vakit işte 13, 15, 15'ten fazla değil, daha az, hatta şimdi bugünlerde daha yedikleri yemeklerden daha erken akıl bali oluyorlar. O vakit namaz kılmazsa onun cezası, yani günahı olur.
And the moment they reach the age of maturity, which is around 13 or 15, not more than 15, it's even less than 15 these days, because children, based on what they eat and they even mature much earlier. But at that time, when they reach that maturity, they need to pray, and it's obligatory for them to pray. And if they do not pray 5 times a day, there is a punishment for every prayer they miss, and it will be recorded as a sin.
Öteki türlü dediğim gibi akıl bali olmadan önce günah sayılmaz da yapması daha iyidir.
And otherwise, before they reach the age of maturity, it is not considered and not counted as a sin. But of course, it is better for them to start praying already.
Daha sevaptır.
And if they start at an earlier age, it is even more rewarding.
Ama akıl bali olduktan sonra her namazı kaza yapması lazımdır.
But after having reached the age of maturity, one must pray every single prayer 5 times a day and must make up for every prayer one misses.
Bu minval üzerine dünyadaki yani akıllılar olsa kanun yapanlar cezası daha akıl bali olduktan sonra ne yaparsa onun cezasını çekmesi lazım.
On this basis, if those who make the laws were wise, the punishment should be right after reaching maturity and not later. If one reaches maturity, one should face the consequences of one's actions, and having reached maturity, one must face the punishment for one's wrongdoings.
Allah akıl fikir versin hepimize inşallah.
May Allah Almighty give us all intellect and wisdom, inshallah.
Şeylere Allah Azze ve Celle açıkça insanlara ne yapacaklarını gösteriyor.
Allah Almighty clearly shows people what they must do.
Onlar yapmadıktan sonra da ne için böyle oluyor, nasıl zapt edeceğiz, nasıl edeceğiz.
And then after they don't do what Allah Almighty tells them clearly, they struggle, and they're struggling, not knowing what is happening, how they can control it, and what they can do about it.
Uğraşıyorlar. Allah yardım etsin hepimize inşallah.
May Allah Almighty help us all, inshallah.
Amin. Allah tevfik. El Fatiha.